Hi, this is Amy Lewis. This is Engineers Unplugged. Hi, this is Amy Lewis, and you're here with us for another episode of Engineers Unplugged. We've got Paul and Andrew, and they've got a little bit of an argument that we eavesdropped on, so we're going to put it on video. Unified roles versus unified tools. Take it away, Paul.
Great, thank you, Amy. So Andrew and I were just talking about the fact that with Unified Fabric, let's say a Nexus 5K, you can do both IP and fiber channel storage, or FCOE. And we're talking about the fact that with these devices that are able to really merge two teams together, you know, the storage team and the network team, and requiring them to work together in harmony, that tools are a very important part of that. And, you know, a lot of organizations, the storage team doesn't talk to the network team doesn't talk to the compute team, but you're converging all of these architectures together, these infrastructure components in the architecture together, and you really need to have some tools that are going to pull it all together. So,
yeah, I mean, what we're really discussing here is the network management, the converged network management is going to bring all those silos together under one roof, especially since you just mentioned that these teams are not necessarily happy together. But what we have been seeing is that some teams, what they do is they bring together network and storage, the actual network, the FC and Ethernet under one team, and then the storage teams, what they actually do is they have another team managing just NAS, the file, and SAN, the block, as a separate team. And so in that way, they kind of aligned. And the key fact here is management. So DCNM, for example, is allowing you. Thank you. That's the one. Data Center Network Manager allows you to look into both LAN and SAN domains, as well as to see the converged protocol from end to end to see how it's connected to your storage, path connectivity, etc. So, what do you think the team would do if they have this kind of tool?
So I think it really comes down to, getting two teams to work together is a little harder than getting them to agree to use one tool. So there are plenty of tools out there that they can use as a point solution to manage one component or the other. But Data Center Network Manager being one of those tools that actually has role-based access control that could be used across both sides, and really allow for each team to get the ability to analyze what they need to do to troubleshoot their role, again, on the storage side or on the IP network side.
Well, so another dimension to what you were saying is, in our tool, for example, we offer visibility across the whole LAN and SAN world. So when you do troubleshooting and time is of the essence, you need to figure out what the problem is, you are not restricted by RBAC. But where we do implement the RBAC is at the configuration side. So if somebody's going to make changes within the old confines of network and storage teams, those confines are managed by role-based access, so the LAN guy can't make the changes to the SAN and vice versa. So in some ways, what we're trying to ask our audience in some ways is, are they truly going to use with one team this tool? And then who is going to manage that tool on top of that? So there's a lot of open questions around unified management and unified fabric, especially when it comes to alignment.
Okay, and I guess the question is, do we even need to understand who's going to do what when you design these new infrastructures that are using unified fabric? You really don't, right? You can definitely adapt as you go. And you were talking the other day about how, at some point we might see more and more convergence, as FCOE gets further and further deployed. New storage arrays that are moving to 40 gig Ethernet, or in my opinion, are going to be the tipping point as to when people are going to embrace it. Right now, fiber channel seems it's actually a little more cost effective. Most storage arrays have it integrated in the array, where FCOE is a bolt-on. But, what are you seeing and what are you hearing in regard to, adoption and people moving towards FCOE?
Yeah, and the trends we've been seeing is that, once you get your, server box with a CNA, the world really opens up to them because huge savings there at the access layer. What we're seeing is a little slowness of storage vendors catching up to the FCOE world. If they are right there, smack in the center, and they have FCOE or CNA adapters, if you will, on the storage frames, then we are actually allowing that consistency. Now you have FC frames traveling over Ethernet, happens to have Ethernet traffic going to another NAS storage over the same links, essentially. And so we're consolidating a lot of that traffic to bigger pipelines with less ports, with less switches in between. So the savings actually get progressively more important as you move towards the storage array side. Though on the access side, you realize right away these savings with NPV mode switches and going right down to the core and splitting at the core FC or Ethernet, et cetera. So no matter how you cut the cake, I think savings are there. The alignment is a big question because now the organization are structured again against plan, build, and operate. So what we're seeing is that the operate model could contain both network and storage team in a single team, essentially doing management of that single network, converged network.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. If you think of what people are doing from a storage perspective, they're really assigning storage to a host. And they're not necessarily caring about how that storage is getting there. So the network team actually has a lot more experience in managing traffic flows. So having the network team take over that responsibility may not be a bad vision for the future. And really have the storage team focus on the delivery of that actual storage to the host. And the size and sizing it for the IOPS and the requirement of the workload, not necessarily how the network in between.
Well, so on the kind of last point here is, you have a team that really is going to get converged, and the problem there is that if you have a network team managing both the storage and Ethernet traffic, is that Ethernet team, their expertise is really in lossy network. You're dropping your packets, it's okay, you can shut off the ports in some ways, and then you have your fiber channel mentality, don't touch it, keep it going. So it's almost like they need some training on say, these ports are not production ports, don't touch those ports whether they're Ethernet or fiber channel, period. And so you kind of manage your infrastructure in very strict confines of change control, so you don't touch things without letting storage array or storage array teams letting them know. So, all right, Amy.
All right, I love this conversation. So it's so much more past than technology is what I'm hearing, that when the customers deploy, it really is about the whole business for success.
Absolutely. It has all to do with just the teams working together in order to create success. It's not about having little islands anymore. It's about getting the whole IT organization to really come together to do the right thing.
Well, you know what that means. It's unicorn time, but we're going to do this a little differently. Since this is about working together, I would like to see the two of you draw a unified unicorn. One unicorn, two people, go.
Do you want to do the butt?
Heads or tails, you got to say, here we go. All right, viewers, let's see if they can practice what they preach. Collaboration is not easy. Don't try this at home. What do you think, viewers? I think we've proven something here today. Number one, they should never be allowed to draw a unicorn. And number two, that we can get along. Unicorns are universally the thing that aligns us. So good work. It was a great conversation. Really looking forward to the next time. So, all right. Oh yeah, one other thing. Pointed out, the host has to own it sometimes. I can't spell. This should say @MadItalian ATL. Oops. And of course, and Levin.
And Levin.
Levin. Oopsie. All right. So we'll see you next time on Engineers Unplugged.